Happy Tuesday evening, everybody, and welcome to the Nona Boss Continuum. I have another amazing show again for you guys tonight. Y'all are getting spoiled, I think. I think you guys are just a little bit getting spoiled, but that's okay because I like to spoil my friends and my family. So that's a good thing. I just want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat tonight. We've got Mr. Gary Spike Sr. We've got Miss Judy Wheeler in the house. We've got Crystal J. Shucking it down with cornbread. I love that screen name, and I'm going to say that every time I say it. I'm sorry. Mr. Chris Henley is here as well. Good to see you. We've got Val, and we have Lathis. He's in the house tonight. How are you, my friend? And let's see, Catherine, how are you? Good to see you. Jean, Miss Jean Hudson in the house. We've got Griff. We've got, who else? I think I saw Mr. Robbie Rains. Hello, Mr. Robbie Rains. Hey, Brian, how are you? Brian, you have to come on my show. You just have to. We have to talk about that piece of Bigfoot evidence you have. We've got Miss Krista. She is also in the house tonight. And let's see. Did I miss anybody? Guys? Cynthia. Miss Cynthia Prince is here tonight. Hi, Cynthia. So good to see you, honey. Let's see. Did I get everybody? I hope I did. I hope I got everybody. If I missed you, my apologies. Tonight, I have with me Mr. D.A. Roberts, a friend of mine, and he's also an author, and he has his own podcast, D.A. ExMachina Podcast, where I think DA's podcast is one of the most authentic podcasts that you guys could ever go and check out. So they talk about everything, but I love it because you can see their transparency and the authenticity that comes through in everything that they do over there. So give them some love and support, and make sure that you guys, if you haven't already, go over to DA's channel, and we will be putting the link to DA's channel in the chat tonight. So make sure you go over and show them some love over there. And Mr. Robbie Rains, I cannot forget him as well. And his podcast is What's Really Out There, and go and show him some love too, and subscribe over there as well. So let's welcome Mr. D.A. Roberts to the show. Hey, D.A.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Oh. And thanks for that awesome intro. That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Like, you guys are so great. I mean, when I first found your show, I was like riveted. Like, I was there like every week, like, wow, these guys are fantastic. Like, I think Matt met you guys first, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think Matt met you guys first, and that's how I met you guys. So yeah, such a blessing. You guys have been a blessing to my life. That's for darn sure. So
well, you have to ours as well. So thank you so much.
Aw, that's sweet. Yeah, I definitely want to start the show off. I want to let everybody know, DA and I had talked a little while back that we wanted to do some sort of a show that we could support a charity that is super near and dear to DA's heart. Everybody over at DA ExMachina Robbie, Doc, Steve, everybody over there, and mine too. So we've decided tonight we really want to try and support the 22 a day movement. DA, you want to talk a little bit about what that charity and how they assist veterans?
Yeah. Let me show my bracelet. I wear this pretty much all the time. The 22 a day foundation was set up to help prevent veteran suicide. We lose 22 a day on average, veterans committing suicide every day. And that's simply because they don't have the resources that they should have at their disposal. The VA is not taking care of them the way they should. But we lose on average 22 veterans a day to suicide. And the 22 a day foundation, everything that they collect goes to helping partner these guys with PTSD dogs, getting them the treatment they need. The goal of the 22 day foundation is to get that down to 0, which is where it needs to be.
Absolutely, it does. PTSD is something very difficult for veterans to, and not just, the military veterans, but, police officers, firefighters, like our first line of defense, men and women that are out there that are, they see things and they hear things, and they're, a part of things that I know I wouldn't be able to handle. And trauma comes from that. And there's no way they can't be on some level traumatized. So this is such an amazing charity. So what I will be doing throughout the show tonight is I will be putting the link. It is pinned as in the comment section at the very top. And I will be putting it through the chat through the night. And please, anybody, please I don't want any super chat, super stickers, none of that for me tonight. It is all for this amazing charity who does amazing work. And so if you were planning on maybe giving me a super chat, just hit that link, go over there, support that charity. Our veterans, they need us. We need them.
Absolutely.
And they served us and our country. So let's give back. So, well, you and I are going to be talking about giants tonight.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
I had no idea that there were this many articles about giants in Florida. I had no clue. When I
the legends of giant creatures in Florida dates back to when the Spanish settlers first arrived. When actually it was even before that, when was it Ponce de Leon first landed. They talked about giants that lived in the Okefenokee swamps. There's so many legends around Florida of these giant creatures, and there have been a lot of times when giant skeletons have been found, but they just disappear.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, now I think you're going to talk some, because you're in Missouri, so you were going to talk about some stories of giant bones being found there, and then I'm going to talk about some that were found here in Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought I might talk about some of the more famous ones also around the United States.
Absolutely. I was surprised though when I did mine, when I started looking at mine, a lot of the ones that they found down here, they were found underwater in these like underwater like caves and caverns. And I was like, I was so shocked.
Did I freeze up?
I don't know. It just seemed awful. I'm back. Are you back?
Yeah, I thought I froze up there for a second. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Must be my connection.
I'm hoping, I don't know. It could be mine. We're supposed to have some storms here tonight, so it could be mine.
As hot as it is here, I would love to have some storms come through. Whew.
Man, it's been a struggle with the lightning here recently. It's been really bad. Yeah. No, Robbie says I was the one that froze. Robbie, okay. Did I look cute while I was frozen? That's the question.
Of course you did.
Of course. So What are some of the famous ones around the country that you know of, DA?
When you start thinking about giants, the most famous one that comes to mind is what were called the giants of Lovelock Cave. Apparently, back in I don't even know how long ago it was hundreds of years ago. There was a race of what they called red-haired giants. That's how they were described. That would prey on the local indigenous Indian and Native American tribes, and they got tired of it and they trapped them in a cave and built a big fire at the front of the cave and basically smoked them out, where they burned out the oxygen and killed them. Well, in the late 1800s, they found those skeletons in that cave in Lovelock, Nevada. The local museum in Lovelock actually cataloged several of these large skeletons, and they were 8 to 10 feet tall. And some of them still had pieces of red hair strips of red hair.
Wow.
They put them on display in the museum in Lovelock, Nevada. And they were, there are pictures of them. There's documentation that they were on display there. And then mysteriously, the Smithsonian Institute sent an envoy out to the museum in Lovelock and said, "Hey, we would like to study these bones." And Lovelock says they loaned them to the Smithsonian. They even have the paperwork that shows they were signed for by the Smithsonian. But the Smithsonian claimed they never got them, and the bones have disappeared.
They just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like an alphabet soup situation to me.
Well, you can find a lot about that. There's a couple of good books that I have. One of them is called "The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America: The Missing Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up." It is a fantastic book. If you're interested in giants in America, I would definitely recommend this book. It is really good reading, and there's a lot of good information in it.
Man. And it's just surprising to me because, like, when you think about the Smithsonian, you think, oh, that's, they're here to preserve our history and preserve all of these different, relics, right? I mean, and for them to just be like, yeah, I don't know, we don't know what you're talking about. That's a little sus to me.
Well, the Smithsonian was legitimately founded to push a narrative. They wanted to make sure that no one believed that any civilization had ever been on the North American continent before us. They didn't want any evidence of Native Americans having a civilization, having construction and buildings. They didn't want any of that to be presented because it interfered with the Manifest Destiny movement. How they said it was God's own choice that they should conquer the savages and move all the way to the West Coast, when in reality they're finding ruins all across the United States, just not far from here, about 3 hours here, just outside of St. Louis, across the Mississippi River from St. Louis and Cahokia, Illinois, are the Cahokia Mounds. At one time, the Cahokia Mounds, it's a Mississippi, what they call a Mississippian culture. It was a city of approximately 100,000 people.
Wow.
And it was all built out of stone and earth.
That's wild.
But we're finding that there are a lot of these around the country.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. If you look up mound builders, you'll find evidence of that all over the United States.
There were some here in Florida. When I was looking them up, there were some here in Florida for sure that they found in mounds, most in underwater though. Mm-hmm. But wow, that's crazy.
A lot of those mounds, when they were discovered, were bulldozed just so nobody would know they were there. There are a lot of mounds scattered out through Appalachia that are scattered all across the U.S. But before that, many of them were in private hands on private property. When the government would find them, they would just level them. So nobody dug into them and found the artifacts. Again.
There. Equipment just came in yesterday, so I've got to get it all hooked up so these things won't happen going forward.
It happens.
Oh, Brian has a good question. Anyone use LiDAR technology on any of the mounds?
They have, especially in the Cahokia region. They've they've discovered there are chambers hidden in some of these. Some of these passageways and everything are every bit as vast as the pyramid complexes in Egypt.
Really?
Hmm.
Wow. Man, DA.
Look at some of the construction that took place at like Machu Picchu, and then and some of the other construction sites up in Peru and in the Andes. The stonework is on par with anything that was done in Egypt.
And Gene Hudson says they found ruins in the Grand Canyon recently. I didn't know that. Thanks, Robbie. He says, I thought you were just lost in deep thought, Marty. Thanks, Robbie. You're such a good friend. That's what friends are for, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. That's yeah, Brian, that is. It's a lot of chambers underground. I mean, and it makes you wonder too. I mean, if it was that elaborately built, were these, were they of like, maybe these were royalty, or they were
But a bit
high importance, people.
Yeah, if you ever do any if you're ever on Google and you've got a few minutes, Google the Cahokia Mounds. It's Cahokia, Cahokia. It's in Cahokia, Illinois. But the Cahokia Mounds, the history there is just absolutely fascinating. Yeah, my wife and I, one of our favorite places to go when we're in the St. Louis area is to just go over there and look at the museum and walk around the park. It's massive.
That's awesome. Yeah. Krista and I still have to come up with something to do. We will have like one free day on Monday after the conference in September. So let us know, DA, if you want to go and do something.
Okay. If you guys are anywhere near us, we could probably make that happen.
That would be cool. Krista, you want to do that? We could do that.
She says she's been to the Cahokia Mounds. Cahokia Mounds are just absolutely fascinating.
Oh yeah, I mean, I anything that's history like related, I'm there. I am absolutely there. Oh, Shane. Hi, Shane. So good to see you. He says,
Hey,
I'll have
Shane.
to tell you about a small museum full of mound artifacts. Okay.
I love going to museums. I mean, that's
Me
one of
too.
my favorite things to do.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. Yes. Me and Krista and Brandy will be participants in the expedition at the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and Expedition. So we are going to be expeditioning with Shane and the boys. So
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm sure Shane's got loads of plans. Am I right, Shane?
I bet it's going to be a great time.
It is. I think it's going to be. And then, so you're going to be there on Saturday. You're going to be there. And so you're going to have, you bring in some books.
Yeah, we'll have books there, and we'll be hanging out and talking to folks, and just there to have a good time. I mean, looking forward to hanging out and getting to know some of the other researchers in the area. Be a great chance to finally meet Shane face to face. So I'm really looking forward. I'm excited about it.
I know, me too. The only thing I just hope Krista and Brandy can smell halfway decent on Saturday after being camping out before the conference.
Take a shower. You'll be fine.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. DA, you may not want to give me a hug when you see me on Saturday. It is. It's going to be a blast. So, the one of the interesting stories that I found in Florida for me, was right there in Ocala. There's there's Silver Springs there. There's a spring there. And there were divers that ended up finding, they found these giant bones, 7.5 feet tall. But along with it were clay pots and arrowheads, and it looked like needles, like like needles made out of bone, and a musket, a musket gun. I was like, or a rifle. Is it a rifle? I'm not good with that stuff, so I don't.
Well, they made muskets and pistols and rifles, so it could be either one.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a rifle, and so I mean, I find that super interesting. That if that, I mean, what would that date to, DA? What would that date to? A musket
We
rifle?
had musket technology about, I want to say, if I'm correct, the 16 to 1700 range. There was matchlocks, then flintlocks, and then of course black powder with percussion cap, and then after percussion cap, we started seeing modern cartridges, which are still kind of evolving today. But the cartridge really hasn't changed a whole lot. Just the metallurgy and of the chambers has changed, allowing us far greater chamber pressures. But the old matchlocks and wheel locks and flint locks were pretty primitive, and they had those dating back to when the first explorers came over here. So I would say, if I had to guess off the top of my head, I would say the first, those old matchlocks probably came out in maybe even as early as the mid 1500s.
So those bones are not that old, honestly.
It couldn't be that old unless something else had already invented the gun before us, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because it was weird, because the article, I couldn't find a date on that particular article, because I like to know the dates, but that particular article, I couldn't find a date on it.
There are lots of things that we're discovering that had been invented long before we, quote unquote, invented them. The ancient Egyptians had a battery. And if they could build a battery, that means they had something that it powered. 1465 on muskets. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks for Googling that, brother.
I'm sorry. Oh, Robbie. I love you. I love you, my friend. At least he didn't give us the wrong date. I don't know. Somebody else Google it. Maybe Robbie is wrong. We don't know. Robbie may not be right.
When it comes to firearms, I'd put my money on Robbie.
When he rolls up into Gatlinburg and he's like, I just sat there going, and you need all of these weapons. Why? What is the point of all of this?
He brought the long gun to show to me.
You're right, Robbie. You are. Oh, thanks, Roger. We appreciate that. And Shucking It Down with Cornbread says Tesla figured out the pyramids created an electric grid. Okay.
Tesla had a fundamental understanding of the electromagnetic spectrum that we either can't duplicate today, or they're being very quiet about it. When Tesla died, the FBI raided his apartment and seized all of his notebooks, and they're still classified.
Because they don't want us to have free energy.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, unfortunately. I mean, if we had free energy, could you imagine how this world could change?
Yeah.
I mean,
it would be fantastic if our governments weren't so overly concerned with making money instead of being concerned with actually making our lives better. I mean, if people were free of paying, for electricity and things that we are supposed to have, if I think electricity is a basic right, I really do. And because if you lose your power, if you're let's say for example, you're a single parent and you have a couple of small kids and you're behind in your bills, if they cut your power off, DHS can take your kids. So if they can take your kids for not having power, you should have a right to have that power.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. That is such a good point. That's actually pretty profound, because that is true. there's only a few things that you could lose your children over, and not having power in your house, or running water, food, or denying them medical care.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if those are things that they can take your kids for, why aren't they provided?
Yeah.
Why are they
Yeah.
priced so high it puts us out of most people's comfort range? I mean, how many people can really afford health insurance anymore?
I know, which is sad. So sad. So sad. And let me go back to this other article that I had found. Now, this article was right out of the Palm Beach Post from October 2nd, 1934. And it just, short little article, the continual wash of the Atlantic Ocean cutting through a narrow coastal island about 1 mile south of St. Lucie Inlet has exposed the bones of men evidently laid to rest 100 years ago, says the Fort Pierce News Tribune. Skeletons of 9 individuals were discovered, some in the shallow waters of the inlet and others beneath the nearby sand. All of the men were unusually tall and must have been sturdy giants in their day. One jawbone taken from the site measured 8.5 inches from the joint of the jaw to where it hinged on the skull. One shin bone was almost twice the length of an ordinary shin bone today.
So the question is, were they giants as we think of when we watch a movie? Were they, basically just larger version of humans, or could these have been Bigfoot bones?
I've thought that too.
I mean, because hair doesn't. Well, we know from fossil records of dinosaurs that they now realize that a lot of dinosaurs had feathers, but hair and feathers don't tend to fossilize. Bone does. Hair tends to decay pretty fast.
And then aren't there reports, or not reports, I don't want to say reports because they're not really reports, but speculations that maybe Sasquatch may bury their dead underwater?
Absolutely. Or at least underground.
So, that's interesting.
And I was just reading an article just a few days ago that they now think it isn't completely possible that populations of relic hominids like Neanderthal may still live in parts of northern Canada.
Really?
That article just hit the wire a few weeks ago. And I remember I read it and thought, now they're saying this. And a lot of us have been saying that Bigfoot could actually be, a relic hominid. It could be a relic, a descendant of Neanderthal. Gene Hudson says, what about current sightings of giants? If you include Bigfoot in that as a possible giant, there are lots of giant sightings. They're even up in the mountains of Alaska and into Canada, where they talk about seeing what they call stone giants, which live up in the deep forest and up in the mountains. So yeah, there are giant sightings still being seen even today. And there was a video circulating from World War II of a Japanese parade while they were fighting us, of them parading a giant through the street.
Wow. Wait, where was that at?
In Japan during World War II.
In Japan. Wow. I never see. Yeah, you guys get into over D.A. ExMachina over there. They get into it deep, guys. They get in deep. This is how deep they go.
Let me grab a book real quick. I want to show you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take my headphones out.
All right. Yeah, Chris, I got some.
As you can see from behind me, I've got a pretty expansive library. But this book is by a guy named Danny Vendramini. It's called Them and Us. It's called Them and Us: How Neanderthal Predation Created Modern Humans. And he did a forensic reconstruction on what Neanderthals supposedly look like. And let me find one of the pictures. Because when you look at it, his reconstruction looks very much like descriptions of a modern Sasquatch. Yeah, I have to turn off that light.
Oh. Wow. It even has that forward tilt.
Right. has the slightly arched forehead. Yeah, this book,
No,
Them
I
and
mean
Us, is a fantastic novel.
the
Oh, the way
body.
they stand. Here we
Yeah.
go. Here's a couple even better pictures.
Wow.
These are forensic reconstructions of what they think Neanderthal looked like.
They look like Sasquatch to me.
They sure do.
Holy cow.
I'll leave that light off so it can actually show stuff without the glare.
And I know Gary Spikes has been putting your YouTube channel in, and he's also been putting the link to go and donate. I hope everybody does that. Take advantage of that, please. Go over for us tonight and show some love over there at the charity. You can't spend your money any better. I'm being honest.
I agree. I totally
Can't spend
agree.
your money any better. And Judy says, wow. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, Shane's got a comment here. There are hundreds of mounds that were dug up all over Missouri. The Missouri Plateau all went to the Smithsonian.
And supposedly you can still find some of those mounds out in the Mark Twain if you know what you're looking for.
Now, where is the Mark Twain? Is it in Missouri, or I hear
the Mark Twain National Forest is, I think it's 3.5 million acres of national forest that runs from just south of St. Louis to northern Arkansas.
Wow.
It's a massive forest, and it butts up almost against the Ozark National Forest, which is about 2.5 million acres. So between the two of them, they're about 6 million acres. Plenty of habitat for a large hominid.
Oh, more than enough to sustain, probably a really large group of several groups,
Gary, thank you for your service, man.
Yes. Gary, I put your package in the mail today, sir. So it's coming your way. I'll send you the tracking information after the show. Yes, Jean. Thank you, Gary, and all who served. Absolutely. And Shane says, which is why we have a large population here.
We have plenty of habitat for them.
Brian Barber wants to know, are there designated areas to protect the mounds?
It varies from state to state. Some of them have been protected as historical sites. Others are in private hands, and in some cases were just utterly destroyed, which is a tragedy. That these pieces of history were basically just either dynamited or bulldozed or torn down. But there are a lot of them that are still that are still intact and have never really been investigated the way they should be.
Wow. Wow. See. Plenty of Sasquatch activity. Well, I'm not sure where you're at. Shucking it down with cornbread. I don't know. I'm not sure where you're actually located. I'd like to know. And Griff says, as a vet, we appreciate those that appreciate those who serve.
Amen, brother.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, it is surprising to me though that most people really don't. I don't think a lot of people really do realize that there are still discoveries happening. There are a lot of new things that are still being if they're finding, I don't know. Okay, here's a question, DA. So let's say you come across something that you find a mound, you think it's got something in it. What do you do? What's the first thing you do? What are we supposed to do so that the government
get a hold of an archaeology department at one of the local universities and report it? Hopefully it can be cataloged and preserved instead of just, shut down and people, people told to stay away from it, or if the government comes in and just basically either gets rid of it or forbids people from being around it. I would probably get a hold of an archaeological department in one of the major universities. Like here in Missouri, there's a number of universities that I would reach out to. Probably the local one being Southwest Missouri. Well, it's Missouri State University now, but when I went there, it was Southwest Missouri State. But so it'll always be SMS to me. But I would probably reach out to the archaeology department there and try to get somebody out to survey the site.
Okay. Well, because I wouldn't know. I know that there was down in Miami, they were trying to build this like amazing condo on the beach. And then the developer ended up finding all of these, it was a Native American burial ground that they uncovered there, and it shut it down fast. Really fast.
But the problem is in the past, anytime they discovered something like that, they just kept quiet about it, kept digging, got rid of it. And unfortunately, that did happen a lot. Considering how vast this country is, anywhere you live, the Native Americans lived here long before we did. So you're very likely to run into artifacts from the previous civilization. I mean, it's going to happen. Here in Missouri, if you can walk along some of our rivers, I used to pick them up all the time down along the Niagara River. As a kid, we'd find arrowheads and spear tips and all kinds of things just in the rocks along the river.
Oh, cool. I want to go do that.
Lots of places where you can still find them. My uncle, who had a land along the Niagara River bottoms down near Prospering campgrounds, every time he plowed his garden, he plowed up more.
Wow. So what does that say? Does that say that that's where they were living, or that's where like a battle could have taken place, or either or both, right?
Either or both. Considering it was along a river, I would say there were lots of camps. Anytime there were flat lands next to a river, they would build a camp there. God knows if they how long they stayed. They could have had a permanent settlement there, or it could have been just one of their itinerant settlements as they followed the herds. But anytime you're going to be near a river or water source, everything needs water to survive. And that's why so many Bigfoot sightings take place within spitting distance of a body of water, usually rivers and lakes, because they need fresh water. But the Native Americans were the same way. They used those rivers as highways. That's how they got fish. That's how they got their drinking water. So the rivers were life.
Yeah, they were. I mean, you're right. They were highways. Hey there, Miss Neoma.
Hi, Neoma.
Good to see you. Robbie's chiming in again. Here we go with Robbie. What's wrong? Marty, you can find all kinds of things like that in Florida. Hey, listen, sir. If you come to Florida again, Robbie, I'm putting you down in a shark tank. I'm putting you down there in a shark cage. It's happening. Everybody, we'll get a collection together to get you
Robbie
down.
would love that.
I know. That's what we'll do next time he comes down here for another Florida conference. That's what we're going to do.
Just outside of Springfield, just about 10 miles from where I'm sitting, was a Civil War battle called Wilson's Creek. And it was one of the bloodier battles fought in our area. And you can still find mini balls and musket balls in the mud along Wilson's Creek downstream from that battlefield.
Wow. Shane says the Blue Man sightings were all around the Niagara
River.
Niagara.
I grew up running the Niagara River. It was just outside the town I grew up in. I spent more time on that river than I think I did on dry land, canoeing, fishing. Well, if there was something to be done on the river, I was in that river.
So what's the Blue Man? What is that?
That's one I think we'd have to talk to Shane about, because I'm not as familiar about the Blue Man as I would like to be. I think, is it a type of Bigfoot? I grew up in that area, and I don't think I've heard about the Blue Man.
Yeah, I want to know about the Blue Man. I'm like, wait, what's he talking about?
I know I've got a research topic tonight.
Yes, right?
But then again, I like pulling research. I'm always researching something.
Hi, Pyromatic. It's so good to see you. One of the last elders from I'm going to say this wrong probably, the Nachi tribe told me that his people used to bury a giant each of the 4 directions of their mounds in the Mississippi River Valley.
That surprised me.
Wow. It was a Bigfoot situation. A situation.
Okay. Well, Shane, I would definitely like to chat with you about that. I would like to know more about it. I mean, I grew up in Lebanon, and I spent so much time on the Niangua, and I'm familiar with the Blue Man story. That's
Naomi
I
says,
do.
I know. Yeah.
Well, I'm drawing a blank, Miss Naoma. If this is the story,
remember the story that we did as a part of our Halloween show a couple of years ago?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. But I'm still going to be digging into it to refresh my memory because I'm getting old and forgetful.
Robbie says, but I really feel the love, Marty. Something tells me that you want to hang bait on my scuba tank. I would never.
We'll just chum the waters for you, man.
And Chris Henley says, Orlando Blue Man Group. I love the Blue Man Group. I've seen them. I saw them in Vegas and I saw them in Miami. They are fabulous, actually. But I don't think any of them are Sasquatches. I don't think so. I don't know. They don't talk, so you don't know. Shane says it was all over that area. Bigfoot situation. All right. Well.
That's why I was down in Douglas County. I didn't spend a whole lot of time down. They used to call Douglas County Booger County. It was its nickname. In fact, a lot of the old people that lived in that area still call it Booger County. But Douglas County was referred to as Booger County for the longest time. And apparently this happened down in Douglas County. It says he was a frequently seen, but his presence was felt as far back as the 1860s. Looking to chase and kill, he carried a wooden club in his huge hand, threw large boulders, and feasted upon livestock. Periodic appearances sent locals spinning into a tizzy and brave men searching the woods, and had enough excitement to last until the next sighting. He was the Blue Man of Spring Creek.
Huh. Well, we've got more research to do, DA.
Well, we definitely do. And Douglas County ain't that far from here. I might grab my old LT and go down to Douglas County and see if we can kick something loose.
That sounds pretty cool. I just want to come on the show so I can hear what you guys what you found though.
Well, the funny thing is where you're gonna be in Ozark for the Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference. That's a rock throw from Douglas County.
Oh. I
mean, a 20-minute drive.
Well, Krista.
Ava ain't far from Ozark.
We might have to do that, Krista. Krista says, I used to show horses in Douglas County in Ava, Missouri. Okay. Sounds good to me. Krista, we got a whole itinerary now, so let's see. Brian says descendants of the Blue Man still hanging around, and when was the situation? When was the situation?
Apparently there's still sightings even today. But it's the first sightings go back to the 1860s.
Well, Matt and I did like a series, Dive into the Depths, and we went through all of these different articles, from like the 1800s, and then some of them we did several of them coming into like, I don't know, maybe I think the last one we might have been right around 1960, 1970-ish. And it was really sad because all of the older articles in the the 1800s, early 1900s, they really spoke about Sasquatch people as people, and they spoke about them with such reverence and such respect. And then by the time you got to, the 1960s, early 70s, they were monsters. That's what they referred to them as. It was such a sad evolution to see, that mindset shift, to them being monsters. And I'm not saying that people don't have scary or traumatic encounters, but I don't know. I just think it was kind of sad to see that.
Well, one thing folks need to remember is the phrase dog man didn't exist until the mid 90s, when the reports of the Michigan dog man started going on. And there was that song recorded on the radio. The term dog man came about in the 90s. The term Bigfoot didn't come about until 1957. When Jerry Crew and his crew started finding these huge tracks along their around their logging equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to that, Bigfoot and Dogman didn't exist. But if you look at old newspaper articles, you find tons of references to a wild man of the woods, or a forest devil, or a wolf man that lived in Werewolf Springs, for example, is a great example. There are tons of these old references to these wild men that lived in the woods that would occasionally abduct livestock and even people.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Neoma says, DA, I might be speaking out of turn. I think I had originally decided to do it, but then we decided to split our stories with you in Missouri and me in Arkansas. So I may have dropped the Blue Man story.
Well, I knew I'd heard it before. I just couldn't place it. And I'd heard the term, Missouri, the Ozarks Blue Man, or the Missouri Blue Man, but I was drawing a complete blank on it, which unfortunately I find growing as I get older, that happens.
Well, Shane's going to have to tell us. Krista, make sure we don't forget to have Shane tell us this Blue Man story around the campfire.
Oh yeah, that would be the best way to hear it.
Yeah.
Now I'm jealous. I really want to be there for that. That would be cool.
And maybe Shane will let us videotape that, or at least hopefully. I don't know. We'll cross our fingers. We'll see. Well, you had some interesting activity in Gatlinburg.
Yes, we did.
You want to
my wife and I stayed at a cabin up in the mountains, and it was pretty remote. I mean, there was a highway in close proximity to us. It wasn't a very far drive down the side of the hill, and there were other cabins close to us, but you couldn't see any of them. The woods around us were so thick you couldn't see any of the cabins around us. So we were really up in the mountains, and we loved it. We absolutely loved it. We stayed up there for a week and barely left the cabin. Only went into town for supplies a couple of times. But one of the first nights we were there, I do this thing where I can pop my tongue real loud. And it's something I learned to do as a kid on the farm, because I would hear this popping sound coming from the woods and I didn't know what it was. And I grew up learning to mimic bird sounds, and I'd mimic squirrels and stuff. And in the 70s, there's not a whole lot to do on a farm when you don't have television, because we had 2 channels. And I think it was not even until 74 or 75 we got our first color TV. So really didn't watch a lot of TV. But I learned to do this popping sound, and I've talked to a lot of other Bigfoot researchers, and we kind of have this theory that wood knocks, a good chunk of, maybe not all of wood knocks, but we think some of the wood knocks that people report are actually made with their tongue. So I sat out on the deck and I popped my tongue. I can do it really loud. I have a noise reduction filter on my microphone, or I'd pop my tongue for you, because it just cuts it out. Anything that's too loud, it just filters it out. But I can pop my tongue, and I can put my hands up, and I could hear it echoing across the valley from us. So I did that for the first couple of nights we were there, and never got a response. And I'm like, oh well. And then the second night, my wife got up. There was 2 levels to the cabin. The bedrooms were on the lower level, and the living room area was upstairs with the balcony and everything. And we went downstairs, went to bed, and I was laying in the bed reading. And she got up to go to the bathroom and heard something growl. And we know there's bears all over the Smokies, so we just assumed it was a bear. She comes back. She goes, something just growled at me, and I asked, probably a bear out there. And I got up and looked around and didn't see anything, and went back to bed. No big deal. Well, then, wasn't very long later, we heard something hit the side of the cabin hard. like 3 or 4 times, like thump, thump, thump. So I got up and looked around again, turned on all the exterior lights and couldn't find nothing, didn't see anything. So the next morning, we go up, we have breakfast, and I go out and take my coffee, and I'm out on the deck. And it was still, sun was pretty low in the sky. It was pretty early in the morning. And she was still sitting down on the couch, and I was sitting out, kind of enjoying the morning, sipping my coffee. And one of the things I did every morning when I was there is I would walk that whole balcony because it was the length of the cabin. I would walk the whole balcony, just kind of looking around in the woods. And I had my good Canon camera with me. I'd take pictures of birds and eagles and anything I thought was cool. So I'd walk around all the whole perimeter of the balcony, and I get over to one end and I push this branch back. And I knew the day before there was nothing down here on this side of the cabin. And I look down there and I see something. So instead of just saying what it is, I open the door. I'm like, honey, come here. She's like, what? And I'm like, just come here. So she comes over there and I point. And she's like, is it a bear? I'm like, just take a look. So she pushes this branch back and looks down. She goes, oh my God, there's a footprint down there. And it was obvious from the second floor, we were looking at a footprint. And that side of the cabin was at about a 45-degree angle. It was a steep pitch. And I'm like, son of a gun. And it was a perfect print. And there were several partials around it, but that one print was just absolutely perfect. I said, I'm going out there. I got to finish getting my shoes and stuff on. I'm going out there. So I get my camera, get my shoes on, head out there. And she comes up on the front porch and was like looking down at me. And she's like, you be careful. You're going to fall down that hill. And it was all I could do to like shimmy down to it without tumbling down this hill because it was pretty steep. Mm-hmm. So I get down there and I'm like taking pictures of it from multiple angles. And I put one of my business cards in it. And it was, I've looked at a lot of tracks over the years, but this was the most perfect, pristine, castable track I have ever found in my entire time I've been digging into this. You could see the toes, you could see the outline of the heel, you could see the slippage at the back of the hill as it was trying to climb the hill. And I look up and realize that track is directly below the living room window where we had been playing pool the night before, and the sound that pool balls make. So Robbie said, hey, maybe that pool sound might have drawn him in too, instead of just you popping your tongue. But I'm like texting pictures to Robbie and Doc. I'm like, holy shit, look what I found. And because I didn't go there looking to do any investigation, it was our 30th anniversary. We were just going to just hang out and just be a couple for our 30th. So I'm taking these pictures and she's like, do you think you want to try to cast it? I'm like, well, I don't know if I can cast one on a hill like this. I said, I don't have any materials. I'll need to run into Walmart to get casting materials. So I go back up the hill. And like I said, I took a bunch of pictures. So I get back up the hill. I go in the house and I'm getting my stuff together. And she goes, you might want to cancel your trip to Walmart. And I'm like, why? She goes, look outside. And I look out and it is just pouring down rain. And it rained for about 12 hours. I mean, it just poured rain for the longest time. And I little by little watched that track just erode away.
Man.
I was like, God dang it. I don't know how I would have cast a track on that kind of an incline, but it was an absolute beautiful track. Best track I have ever found. I found tons of partials. I found tracks that were only, a few millimeters deep because it was in dusty soil, hard packed soil. Mm-hmm. But this one was an inch and a half deep and almost 20 inches long. And you could see the definition of the toes. You could see the heel. It was an absolutely beautiful track, and I lost it because of the rain. That's
a very large individual.
Yes, it was. And with a track, a 20-inch track, if that's in the 8 to 10 foot range that a lot of people have reported, it would have been standing right there looking in that dining room window.
Okay, so let me ask you about the slaps that you heard on the cabin. What were how tall were the slaps on the cabin that you guys heard? Were they kind of the center of
We were down on the ground level, and it sounded like they were coming from along the wall with the big bathroom. And there was no window over there to look out. So what I had to do was I had to go upstairs and then look out the window down that way. Because I didn't want to just run out on the balcony and run out there in case it was a bear.
Right.
So I wanted to go out and get a look before I ran outside. So I ran up the stairs and went and looked outside, and there was nothing out there. But there was a big section of wall right there where obviously it could have easily smacked the wall, and it was a log cabin, so it hit pretty hard.
Were they like in like really close together, the slaps, like boom, 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 or were they
It was like bump, bump, like just a couple seconds apart.
huh?
It hit, I think it was 4, maybe 5 times that it hit. And of course, I was laying in bed with a book in my lap, so I didn't think to try to record it.
It's kind of like, hey, guy, the one in there.
Well, it was right after she heard that growl.
Clicking, popping sound.
Yeah.
Come
Hey,
out to play.
You want to pop your tongue? Come on out.
Come out. We'll play tag.
We also discovered that on the back of the house were 2 sets of motion sensor bright lights. Went out there after that night, and one of them had been pulled down.
And it wasn't like that before you. I mean,
when we first came in, no. I reported it to the management. I'm like, hey, we didn't break that.
Was that on the same side as the window with the pool table looking into that?
Same side of the house.
Interesting.
The lights had been like something had grabbed them and just yanked them straight down, snapped them off. They were just dangling, and when they came on, they would just hit the side of the house.
And I just want everybody to know, DA would not show anybody those pictures until he did his show when he came back. Of course.
Well, I still showed you guys some of them, but not all of them.
No, I didn't see any of them. I was not privy to those photos. I was cooking dinner though, so maybe that's why. Maybe.
I did pass them. I passed a few of them around. I only had a few of them on my phone. Most of them were on my Canon, and I had to wait till I could get to the house to transfer them over to the computer so I could show them on the show. But I only had a few of them on the phone. Most of the ones I took from the phone, I took from the balcony using the zoom on the phone. But all the ones I took up close were with the good lens.
I wonder if Miss Annette's going to allow you to take her for another anniversary there.
She wants to go back, but this time she wants to stay in Gatlinburg.
She wants to stay in Gatlinburg with all that traffic and all those people?
Well, when our original stay up there, we stayed for a week. We stayed Friday to Friday. And when we were getting ready to leave, like a week or so before we leave, Robbie said, "Are you going to the Gatlinburg Bigfoot Conference?" I'm like, "When is it?" And he said, I think he said it was Saturday the 16th. I'm like, "Well, we're leaving the day before." So I went in and grabbed my wife. I'm like, "Hey, honey, can we stay an additional night?" She's like, "Why?" I said, "So I can go to this Gatlinburg Bigfoot Conference." She's like, "Oh my God." She goes, "You drive home after that conference. We're not going to," because it's like an 8.5 hour, 9 hour. No, it was a 10.5 hour drive. She goes, "We're not going to get home till late at night. So maybe we got to stay 2 more nights." I'm like, "Can we extend the cabin?" Okay. I said, "Can we extend the stay in the cabin?" So she called them, and they'd already had the cabin booked. There was somebody waiting for the cabin. As soon as we checked out, they had to clean it and get another group in there. So she ended up getting us a room at Margaritaville there in Gatlinburg, and she really, really liked it. So she wants to go back, and we enjoyed Gatlinburg. I mean, it was a really neat little town, but we didn't spend much time there. She wants to go back and take our sons with us.
Yeah. It is a neat town. It is it's very cool. Even though I couldn't get Robbie or anybody to go and do the sky lift with me, to do any like zip lining or roller coasters or mountain coasters. They were boring, DA. They were very boring. These people that I was hanging out with.
That night you cooked was pretty awesome.
Well, thank
you. You're a hell of a good cook.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was fun just to have everybody there, and just it was great to kind of see like all the little like conversations happening and everybody just kind of gelling, and it was great. I loved it. I enjoyed that whole part of it, just everybody being there at the house. Like that was like the best time ever. That really
was a good night. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Krista got, rented this amazing house. It was absolutely beautiful. And so, yeah, there was a bunch of us crammed in there, but we loved it. We had a blast. Okay, Neoma, absolutely. You and I, girl, let's do it. Because I'm telling you, they was boring. They were so boring. They were. I love them all, but they were boring. Nobody
My
was
favorite
like,
thing to do in
oh
Gatlinburg
no.
is eat.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true. There's a million places to eat. That is for sure. All right, Neoma, it's a date. Next conference. Well, I don't know. Will they have it in Gatlinburg again? They always have it in
They've
Gatlinburg?
had it every year in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
that was,
awesome.
I don't remember what year it was, but they've had it there several years.
Yeah, Amber, and I really was wanting to give it a good try. I wanted to do the zip lining thing. But,
They've got those right down here in Missouri too. Down in
see, you're
Branson,
just
they've got
adding
tons
to,
of zip lines.
I'm gonna have to change my flight, DA, and I'm gonna be late back to work because you're telling me all these cool things to go and do.
A lot more to do here in Missouri than people realize.
Well, it is called the Show Me State. So.
And right across the border in Arkansas, in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, is one of the most haunted locations in the United States, the Crescent Hotel.
Oh my God, Robbie, that is so true. You did have to walk up a hill. Holy cow. We were all hurting though. We had to walk down a hill, up a hill, and then down a hill and back up another hill just to get to our restaurant. So we were all feeling it. We were feeling the pain that night, Robbie. All of us, really, we were. Oh my goodness. Yes, Neoma, we're going to have to do it. She says she was there last year and the year before, but this year was not in the stars for me. That's okay. I will be your BFF, and you and I, we will go and do it. Go have some fun. I mean, I thought for sure somebody would at least want to do like a roller coaster thing. I mean, I couldn't even get anybody to do that. Shane says his mother-in-law is a manager at the Crescent.
Ooh, that is awesome.
Okay. All right, Shane, keep learning more new stuff. Miss Lene is in the house. Hi, Lene.
Miss Lene.
How are you? And I just want to remind everybody, if for people that just came in or came in a little late, DA and I are really, we're really hoping that everybody will, go and Gary's been putting the link to the chat to the 22 a day movement. And, it helps our veterans. Let's go and show them some love over there. I wish I could have had a donate button, but YouTube didn't allow me because I don't have 10,000 subscribers. So I will one day. We will one day, right, DA? We said that
That's
earlier.
Right.
Today.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Might take us a minute, but we'll get there.
Yeah, just a little bit of a minute. DA, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. I really appreciate it. I had such a good time.
I had a ball.
I know. It's fun because when you get to have just have friends on, and it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a show, right? It just feels like
right. Just hanging out and talking.
Hanging out and talking. It's awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Yes, and I am going to continue to put the link to the charity on my community tab for the next week or two. And let's hope we can get some, maybe some more donations and some more traffic that way. And
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah. I will see you in a couple of weeks.
I'll be there.
A couple of weeks. Yeah. I will see you. And I can't wait to see Miss Annette. So make sure you tell her that I love her and I miss her, and I'll see her soon too.
She's already looking forward to it. She's ornery and ready to go.
Good. I love it. She's like one of my favorite people in the world. I'm like, I love Annette. She's so awesome.
She's put up with my hijinks for the last 30 years, so she's one of a kind.
She is. She's amazing. She's amazing. And I just love her to death. She's like, her and I just got along like peas and carrots, honestly. We were just like, yeah, we're just hanging out, we're talking. Don't bug us, we're talking. We had a blast. So, all right, DA, thank you so much. And
No problem.
when is what do you guys got coming up next? I know that. Tell me what you got coming up.
Oh, we've got all kinds of projects in the fire. One of the big things we've been working on is we've been talking about finding a campground and hosting our own 3 or 4 day camp out and invite people and do things on like how to cast tracks and have Robbie do a thing on tracking and just kind of a not just a sitting around a campfire telling stories, but people would be able to walk away with knowledge as well. Doc would be there for first aid and to give some basic first aid classes. And I think if you're going to be doing any time as a researcher in the field, or even if you just like to go camping and hunting, some of these skills are very usable, and it's something I think we're wanting to do in the near future. Hopefully, sometime in the spring.
Oh, wonderful! You guys got to let me know when that's going to be, because
We definitely will.
I'll be coming to that for sure. I'm not going to miss that with all my friends, and I get to meet Doc. I haven't met Doc, so
Doc's awesome. You'll love him.
Yeah, cannot wait. So that's it. You got nothing else?
Oh, like I said, we got tons of irons in the fire. We've got projects coming up that we're working on with other channels,
but you're just not giving it. You're like, I gotta hold my cards to my.
We've got a project going with the girls from the Blondes and Booze, also with Robbie's channel, What If It's True, and with Naoma Finn, where all 4 channels are going to do a series on the same event. And I don't want to announce too much on that yet because we haven't made it public, but should be coming up this December. So kind of guys, make sure you're subscribed to all 4 of those channels. Naoma Finn Storyteller, the Blondes and Booze channel, D.A. ExMachina, and what's really out there.
Yep.
And I think you'll find something pretty interesting coming up in the next couple of months.
Yeah, and you guys got to make sure you guys give me like information so I can plug it for you guys on my shows. So just make sure
absolutely.
You get that info to me so I can plug it for you guys. DA, thanks again. Really,
not a problem. My pleasure.
It was a good time. It was a really good time. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Anytime. Let me know.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, guys, another amazing show in the books. I don't know. DA is never, ever going to disappoint. So make sure, if you guys haven't already, go over and subscribe to his channel. I know Gary's been putting the link in the chat all night. I would really appreciate it if you guys go and show, all of these amazing channels. Love, 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 because they work hard. And they bring us really good information and reliable information. So definitely go and check it out. Hey there, Mike Williamson. You're showing up just a little late, my son. Hi. But I do want to just really quick, again, guys, the 22 a day movement, please. The link Gary's been putting in the chat all night long. It is pinned at the top of the comment section. Please go. Our veterans deserve our support. Please go and I don't care if it's 5 cents, just something. It's an amazing charity, and all of it goes to our veterans. This is not one of those charities like, only a percentage. Every dime goes to them. So let's show them some support, and I really appreciate it. I know DA does too, and thank you guys so much for that. Excuse me. I just want to plug my shows for next week coming up. I've got on Sunday night at 8 p.m., Shane Carpenter from Ozark Mountain Sasquatch and Marianne Zebo will be here with me. We will be talking about the upcoming conference. We're going to be promoting that. And I'm sure Shane's going to give us a little bit of some research update as well. And so that's going to be Sunday night, August 27th at 8 p.m. We have Monday, August 28th. I've got Wayne Telthero coming on from Paranormal Odyssey. He's going to be here at 8 p.m. on Monday night. Tuesday night, I've got Mr. Greg Ogles coming on Tuesday night, August 29th, 8 p.m. He has his documentary out called The Legend of the Downy Booger. And we're going to be talking about his documentary and some of the new stuff that he's going to be doing, that he's going to be coming up. It's coming up for him. And then Tuesday, September 5th, I have Alex Petikoff coming on. Monday, September 11th, I have Chris Henley coming back on with me. We're going to be talking about some Bigfoot articles. And then I got 2 pre-recorded shows that I am going to be airing for you guys while I'm away in Ozark on my Bigfoot expedition. So look for those as well. And one more last thing, don't forget, check out Ozark Mountain Bigfoot Conference and Expedition, September 13th through 16th. All the information's right there. If you want to make it there, I'll be there. Krista will be there. Brandy will be there. DA will be there. Shane, Randy Harrington. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Daniel Perez is going to be there. I mean, it's going to be off the chain. So if you want to go, make sure you guys get your tickets because space is limited. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Remember, what do we always say here on this channel? Remember to spread love and kindness wherever you go.